Well, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the 2026 April Power Hour hosted by A&N Mortgage. If I have not met you, my name is Taylor Adams. I am a loan officer here at A&N Mortgage, as well as our VP of Sales and Operations for Sports and Entertainment. I first want to give a shout out to Butterfield Country Club for hosting us. It looks beautiful in here, food, coffee, it looks good. So thank you so much for that. And then I also want to give a shout out to Christian Perez with CP House Media for doing all of our media, videography, pictures. If you need a good videographer, call him, find him, stalk him, whatever you need to do. We are going to get started. First, I want to invite up all of our sponsors who help make this possible. So I'm just going to hand them to the mic and they'll share a little bit about themselves. You can come.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anya, and I'm with Land Trust Title. Super excited to be a sponsor here today, and thank you, A&N, for always putting up a great event. Land Trust is a title company that is found in multiple states, but our home base is Chicago. We have about almost 20 locations in the area, from Gurnee down south to Orland Park to St. Charles, wherever your needs are. I would like to say that title companies normally are recognized as the place where you pick up your commission checks from. But I would like to also let you know that we can be your partner. We can actually be there for you at your listing presentation, provide you with useful tools, and actually help you in your business. So if you'd like to chat a little bit later about some tools that we have, such as maybe net sheets or maybe a very strategic farming tools, knowing in your area who is going through particular life events that could trigger an actual event to list a home, I would really like to talk and see how we can help you. So this is a little bit about us. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Ben with Castle Home Inspections. I'm going to use the podium to hide myself because I spilled coffee on myself this morning. I just want to give a shout out to A&N Mortgage for putting on a great event and letting us sponsor these power hours. Castle Home Inspections has been in business for the last 30 years, serving Chicagoland area. We'll go as far north as Lake Zurich, as far south as Bloomington. So we go all over the place. We provide residential inspections, commercial inspections, radon testing, air quality, and sewer scopes. So we are a one-stop shop. We are based out of Naperville, and I'd love to chat if anybody has any questions.
Woo.
Like, this is my first time being on stage. Let's go. Let's give a press conference. But my name is Sam Rose. I'm the president of the Rose Insurance Group in Chicago. We do home and auto insurance and business insurance. Yesterday, wild day, my range of conversations I talked to somebody that bought a $2.5 million home cash, and then my next call was somebody that was just buying their first car. So, like, we really go, like, all over the place. I'm happy to help whoever needs it, and yeah, Rose Insurance Group, thanks for having me. Thanks for being there.
Good morning, everyone. I am Mike the Mold Man. I am Chicago's premier mold and odor remediation specialist. I'm the director of operations for Pure 360. We specialize in mold and odor remediation without the use of chemicals. So I'm sure all the agents in here, how many of you had mold or odors come up on your inspection reports? Because Ben flagged it. We can come in, take care of it for you, no worries. Also, something I'm doing this year is I'm offering a Mold 101 course for all managing teams and stuff. So if you want me to come educate yourself and your team, I'm more than happy to do that. I'll buy you guys lunch, buy you breakfast, whatever it is. Whatever I can do to help out, let me know. We're here to help you.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? Good?
Great.
All right, great. All right, my name is Jaden Wilson. I'm with Quality Builders. We're a Chicago general contractor specializing in 203K and home style renovations. So if you're looking for a contractor, you don't want to deal with the bad stigmas that come with contractors and bad communication, give us a call. Find me, not too hard to find. And yeah, we're here to give you good quality communication, project management software, and integrity to get your project complete and done. So hope everyone is doing well. Everyone looks very nice, and let's have a good time. All right.
Thank you again to all our sponsors. If you want more information on any of them, their QR codes are on the back wall by Andy Smith over there, and in the booklets that you all received at the front. Am I right, Andy? Also, I can attest Mr. Sam Rose and I went to high schools in the same city, and he's just as happy and giddy as he is on stage. So he's wonderful. But we will go ahead and get started. First, want to start off with a market update. So I'm going to introduce Dean Blamis.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. So my name is Dean Blamis. My claim to fame is that I'm married to the owner of A&M Mortgage. You notice the banner, the first thing that's highlighted, it's 100% woman-owned. So Nina, stand up so everyone knows who you are. A&M's been around for 25 years. She's fought it out with the big boys, and she's still here. Incredibly proud of her. If you don't know about A&M, here's a QR code. Learn a little about it. I've been doing this for coming on 26 years. We've only worked together for 3. I am not allowed to mention where I work because she told me I can't mention that today beforehand. But the word on the street when I was at these other huge companies is, how is A&M getting these deals and we can't get done? So rather than box it up, Nina's created unique relations with lenders that are exclusive. Doesn't mean we can do anything, but we take the time to help you get those deals done. That's what they're known for. Now, on to the Power Hour. This is the original Power Hour. This is something we've been doing for maybe 3 or 4 years now. Other mortgage companies have started copying this. Imitation is the purest form of flattery, but this is the original. We have top people in the industry collaborating. There's nothing better than hearing what they do, getting ideas from people, and that was the whole goal behind this, to get industry professionals together to help you grow your business. Help me help you. What can we do to help you with your business? That's the concept behind this. Learn a little about A&M. Thank you for coming. Let's get started.
All right, well, thank you all for being here again. I'm really excited. We have 3 incredible women on this panel who I know are going to share so much knowledge and value for everyone in the room today. So I will let them introduce themselves, and then we'll go into kind of how we structure the panel, and we'll get right into it. So Shay, I'm gonna have you go first. Sure. Oh, you guys have mics.
I'm Shay Hata. I am the lead of the Buy Sell Love Chicago team here in the Chicago area, and then I also run a team in Denver, the Buy Sell Love Denver team. So I split my time between 2 different markets and 2 different teams. I've been a realtor for 15 years, I think, at this point. Yeah, that's kind of everything that you need to know. I'm a mom. That's the most important thing. And I'll pass it over to you.
Hello, I don't think it's working. Hi everybody, my name is Jordan Pringle. I'm the owner of Go Halo, we're a boutique transaction management company. I recently just moved to Chicagoland, so I moved on January 2nd, and we live in Naperville now, all the way from Denver. Let's see, I'm a mom of 2, and I'm really excited to chat with you guys today.
Hi guys, my name is Julie Sutton. I am a team lead out of Compass Hinsdale. I've got some of my great team members, Lisa and Brian's here, so cheer me on. I've had teams as large as 11, and I currently have a streamline team of 4, but we also have a great structural support team members, so we'll get into all of that, but I've been doing this for 15 years as well. My husband now works with me for the last 6 years, and we have 3 teenagers. We're almost empty nesters, so anyway.
Let's get the panel started. I'm excited. All right. So how we typically structure these is we have the discussion is broken down into 3 topics. Each question will be directed towards one of the panelists, but I really want it to be more of a discussion and to just let it flow. So we're gonna go right into it. This is gonna be a question for all of you, but the first topic we're going to talk about today is building the foundation, so systems for a scalable business. If you were rebuilding your business from scratch today, what systems would you put in place first? Whoever wants to grab this one first.
I can go. So my The number of units and my average sale price is probably around 1.5. So, you know, in the last couple of years, we do probably closer to 20 to 40 transactions a year versus, you know, some teams are doing hundreds and hundreds of transactions. So if I were restarting my business today, knowing what I know with 15 years, I would say the most important thing that advice I would give myself is get a team of complete rock stars. They don't have to be your employees, but identify the people that you're going to work with and rely on, and really show them loyalty, and patterns and systems will just start to develop themselves. I think it's critical to have a very close, trusted relationship with your real estate attorney, your real estate photographer, videographer, everybody that does your marketing. A transaction coordinator is probably number one. Enter Jordan Pringle and her company. Inspection companies that you know and trust. I think for me, it sounds really simple, but my business is really based on client service. I'm on every text. I rarely send people out to do things. I try to be at every showing. I think the market that I'm in and the price points that I'm dealing with, it's important, and my sellers expect me to be there. And I also think know thyself. Know what you are good at, and focus on ways to make yourself available to do those things that you're strongest at. I'm not strong at all the tiny little minutia. I've got a great transaction coordinator. I am really strong at the marketing, the photography, that kind of thing, and the actual selling in person. So I really try to make sure I'm available for those things. And then have teammates go in and do the inspection, do the appraisal, do the walkthrough, go to the closing. Those things that eat up a lot of time. So I'm gonna zip it so you guys can chime in, but it really I think I think it depends on where you're working, and what you need to be spending your time on day in and day out.
I would agree with that. To kind of jump off of that, you know, I'm the nerd up here of the group, and you know, I'm very much a spreadsheet girl, data girl. So I know when I first got into real estate, I heard a statistic that over 80% of people would use the realtor again who helped them buy or sell their home, but most of them don't. It's like 95% don't. Does anybody know why that is? I know why. Why?
They can't remember your name.
Because they can't remember your name. So that was the first statistic I heard. And so I figured, okay, this is a communication problem, right? So let's fix the communication problem. So my first year in business, I did one transaction for $131,000. So that might feel familiar to some of you, right? But what I spent that first year building was systems. So I built a website from scratch, and I built an incredibly robust CRM system that we still use to this day that automates all of our communication to our clients. So for instance, once a transaction ends, we have a 15-year follow-up program with clients where they hear from us every single month for 15 years, specific to their particular house, okay? From there, we also then built transaction management systems so that during a transaction, I never wanted a client to have a question for us. If a client texts me with a question, I have failed my job, is how I look at it. So I am proactive in giving information to clients before they realize they have that as a question. So my clients hear from me every single day from when we go under contract to close of this is what is coming next. Here's detailed video logs, blogs, et cetera, that explain what is happening, et cetera. So they always know the next step in the process. So I built that entire system 15 years ago before I had done a single transaction. And it's the system that we still use today. So I think you have to look at what are you good at, right? Like I went to Dartmouth, I went to Harvard, I'm a nerd, okay? That's what works for me, and I like that. So I dig into the things that I am good at, which is systems. And when you do that, you're gonna start to attract those clients who are like you. And so my clients are very much like me. And so they appreciate those kinds of systems, right? If that isn't you, figure out what works for you. I do a lot of coaching of real estate agents around the country, and most other real estate coaches tell people, you know, you need to go out and door knock, you need to work expireds, you need to call for sale by owners. I can tell you, most of that doesn't work for people, right? Because we're not good at doing that. I would hate doing that stuff. It's like scratching out my eyes if I had to call an expired. That sounds terrible. You know, I don't even want to go to cocktail parties and network and do those kinds of things. Like, that's not my jam. I'd rather be home in my pajamas. So figure out what works for you. I am really good at events. My first job out of college was planning events for Fortune 500 companies and celebrities. So that's the piece that I like, is systems and events. So figure out what is good for you and you're going to be good at, because that's what you're going to do regularly, and then lean into that, right? And then hire people who can do those other things. So if I were going to start from scratch again, I would do a whole bunch of events. We do about 30 to 40 events a year that we invite our clients to. So we just did 2 this past week, a sourdough bread making class, and we did a doormat making class in Downers Grove. Those are a great way to build our business. And then for me, leaning into systems. But I think it's really about figuring out what you're good at and leaning into that and hiring out the rest.
Perfect segue for me.
Yeah.
You can hire me out.
There
So
we
I
go.
think this is great. So I think if I were to go back and start it all again, I probably would have moved here sooner. I think being boots on the ground has been super, super helpful for me just to do things like this. So we obviously cater to agents who do not have systems in place, that need help and want to use us, leverage a transaction coordinator to do some of these things that typically agents aren't the best at. So I think a lot of agents are coming to us. We've built the foundation of like transaction management. We work with such an array of different agents that our templates don't feel templated. It really gives more of a personal experience. And we can also meet with agents, kind of see how they do things and cater to them, and like kind of implement some of their structure into how we're managing their transactions for them. We become an integral part of a lot of agents' teams, and they're using us because our systems are at this point pretty flawless, which is an awesome thing. So I don't know if I've changed anything system-wise. I will tell you like kind of a cringe story. In the beginning, we used to print out contracts and like keep them in a binder. I think we probably killed so many trees. Like I can't even imagine like going back to that. But we do have a robust system that we've created now. It's always growing. I think like learning is such a key to our success. So when another agent comes and joins Go Halo, we're like, wow, that's actually a good idea. Maybe we should implement that to our approach and like change things. So I think, you know, willing to be not complacent and like being like, okay, we're willing to change and restructure how we're doing things to support agents best. So I don't know if I've changed like that much, but I would definitely not print anything ever again.
I love what Shay said about you attract the people that are like you, and I think that's super important in this industry because there is enough business to go around, but finding what you're good at, bringing in the things that maybe you want to improve on is going to help build that brand, and ultimately you're going to see that growth. So I love that. Shay, I do want to stick with you. What tools or systems that you use would be what you would recommend to others, or what's your number 1 or 2 things that you think every agent needs?
I think the number 1 is a good CRM. You know, I run into a lot of agents through coaching that, you know, are still using Microsoft, you know, Excel spreadsheets and things like that for their CRM. And to me, that's not doing the trick. I think you need a really robust CRM that can automate your communication with clients. So like I use one called RealVolve. It's not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but what I like about it is that I can put in there their clear to close date. I can put in there the closing date, the inspection date, the appraisal date, all of those kinds of things. And then I have set it up so that those dates automatically trigger other emails to go out. So for an example, you know, before the inspection, there will be an email that goes out the day before automatically to the seller side, reminding them of the inspection, letting them know we're going to run the washer, the dryer, the dishwasher, all of those things. An email will go out to the buyer side, letting them know. An email will go out to the inspector, reminding him of the inspection so he shows up, or she. You know, so kind of all the problems that I've run into over 15 years, we're able to head those off with that proactive communication. So I think most CRMs don't have that ability to automate the communication, and that's what really sets RealVolve apart for me. So that, and then also once you have a team, you know, we've got 2 other agents on our team here in Chicago and Denver, and then we have 4 assistants in both markets. Figuring out how to streamline your communication, because when we first started, it was a lot of text messages, and I would get overwhelmed by text messages from my staff. And now I don't talk to my staff on the phone. I don't get text messages from them. We do all of our communication via Slack, and we have a channel for every single client, and all the communication is in there. So I think figuring out what your pain points are in your business where you're not efficient and you're losing time, and then figuring out how do you solve that problem so that you can be at maximum efficiency, and usually there's some sort of system you can put into place, but I think you have to use it. Realtors are like Squirrel in the Up movie, or the dog, where it's like squirrel constantly, and we're constantly buying new products that are gold and shiny, and we're not actually using them, and we're wasting our money. So find something that works that you're going to use, and even if it's not perfect, use it every single day to its fullest implementation possible, would be my advice. Yeah.
No, I think you said it. Yeah, I do love Slack. I think
Yeah, Slack's great.
Yeah, I love it. I think too, when it comes to finding what systems work for you, it's going to make all the difference so you can keep touching your clients, you can keep everyone in the loop. And what we see from all different brokerages are, come here because we have these tools and resources, or we have this. But on that smaller scale, it's, well, what are you doing differently from other agents to help you stand out so that your clients do come back or they remember that service? So I'm going to jump to Julie and kind of ask that question. What systems or tools do you have in place right now that help sets you apart from other teams or competition you may have in the areas that you serve?
I would say that, and this isn't that unique, I think in our western suburb market, being client-facing is really important. And having my husband who's on my team, and not everyone can have a spouse, as their employee or their partner. I think it's just using, and again, I don't want to be repetitive, but using the same team over and over again. There are just no surprises. Everybody knows what to expect. There's trust there. So I think from, for me, I would say that the two heaviest lifts in our industry or for a person starting out is you've got to market yourself. Okay, so that's just a whole piece of the business, right? It's one thing to be able to manage your business once you get it, but I think as new agents, what do you do to be getting the business? And to Shay's point, I think you've got to be out there, right? When my team was larger, I spent so much of my time training and teaching, which I absolutely loved, but I noticed I wasn't out there playing pickleball once a week, seeing and meeting people. I was spending most of my time with my team. So to Shay's point, I think, what are you, how are you building your business in terms of getting new business? That's a huge piece of it. And then ergo bring in the social media and all the content. So I think the events piece is a process. It is a huge transaction in and of itself. And that is sort of the engine. Being out there, being client-facing, that's the engine that brings in the new business. Yes, we all have repeat customers, but in my market, people move every 10 years. So I've got to constantly be out there meeting new people, doing things like this, being involved in charity, being involved in schools, being involved in neighborhood things. You've got to be out there.
I love that.
I would just add to that, I think you also have to take a step back and figure out what kind of life you want to have and what kind of business you want to have. Matt Laracy is my friend. I love Matt. I hate his business model. And I've told him that, right? Like, to not have your agents be able to take an afternoon off or a day off, and a half day is if you don't work until 4 p.m. is the craziest thing to me. I remember when I had my son, who's now 9, at the time I didn't have a team, and I was writing a contract with him on my chest 4 hours after he was born. And I looked at that and said, this is wrong. I have failed here. This is not how I want my life to be. And so I redid everything in my business at that point, and that was when I formed a team. And so our team is very different now from how most people work. We have 2 realtors assigned to every single client. We're all on the text chain together. We do all the showings. One agent does the showings. We kind of split who does it, et cetera. But we do that for 2 reasons. One is that it gives the clients a better customer service experience, because while I'm on this panel for 2 hours, their texts and emails are getting answered. They're doing showings with the other people on my team, et cetera. So we can go out of town and actually have a life. We can go on vacation, and we went to Europe for 3 weeks. I didn't take my computer and do work. right? And I feel like that's pretty unheard of in the real estate industry. My business partner, Lauren, had a baby a week and a half ago. She's taking 2 to 3 months off from maternity leave. She is not working right now. And so we have very much structured our business so that we have a life, and simultaneously our clients get amazing customer service where we're working with 60 to 70 clients at any given time. They feel like they are our only client. So I think before you even put tools and systems into place, you have to figure out what kind of business do you want and what kind of life do you want? And then you need to structure it around that, because we have a habit in real estate of feeling like we have to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you don't if you're smart about how you set up your business. So I think that has to be the first question before you figure out any of the rest of this. It's just my opinion.
Shay, it's almost like you knew the flow of what this script was going to look like. It was perfect. I do just want to ask Jordan a question, because I think Shay and Julie, you both made really good points about finding a team around you, whether it's your inspector, appraisal, lender, whatever it may be, is going to be a reflection of you. And as lenders, that's exactly what we are. Other than doing an incredible job on the actual loan, we want to make sure that we make you look good and that your clients had a good experience. So Jordan, I'm curious for you. I feel like we sit down and you're like, I've got 146 contracts going on right now, and you're able to maintain it with such grace and still do it so successfully. So I'm curious for you, how do you make that efficiency happen, and what works for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it depends on the time of year. So, I mean, right now, obviously, is super busy. I think it's overwhelming for anyone who hasn't lived this lifestyle. So I think, like, when I have new 2Cs come onto the team, it's kind of like, you can think of it like we're a little bit out of shape in busy season. It's like, okay, like we haven't seen this influx of contracts, mistakes happen more if you have a lot going on. So I think why our systems are so important is that it's foolproof. Like, I can manage a lot of contracts and own a company and be a mom because our systems are so dialed in that I'm able to do, a lot of people say, like, how do you do it all? It's like, well, everything is really set in place for me to be successful, and that takes a lot of time. It took 7 years to build that, but I think it was worth it. So when you have a lot of contracts, and I've done 6,000 or something crazy, like you learn how to adjust to every day. And at the end of the day, I think what happens in real estate is everyone's like, oh my God, this is like a total fire drill. I need this done now. It's like, well, you don't. No one is dying in real estate, and like it will get done. And I think like I'm a really calming presence to my team that aren't as experienced as me. So I think they come to me like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. Like what's, and I think it's like, okay, listen, let's come up with a solution to fix this problem. Let's, like, instead of pointing fingers that so-and-so did it wrong and so-and-so did this, it's like, okay, let's collaboratively work together to fix it. Like, which is all fix it. We all want the same end goal.
And always
at the
be
end of the day.
nice.
Yes, and like, we all want the same end goal. We want this person to buy or sell a home. So like, let's do it together. I think, like, this is besides the point, but a lot of the times, people, like when you're really busy, it's like A&M mortgage lenders or really nice attorneys who are like, thank you, like the appreciative, that's like, oh, thank you so much, we're trying to help you. That kind of keeps us going. But ultimately, how we can manage so many transactions, and I have a team of 18, and we work with a lot of agents, is that our systems are solid, and that's what's helping agents get more time back, and they're giving it to us so then they can go and do things like this, or go to buyer showings, go to listing consults, because someone behind the scenes is doing that work for them, answering those questions, scheduling those inspections, getting the earnest money receipts. Like, no agent should be getting a checkbox on a property disclosure. Like, that's a waste of your time. So I think that's where we come in to like really help make sure that these agents are fulfilled, that their clients are happy, they're getting amazing reviews, and that everyone is moving forward to hopefully give them a great experience.
Shay might be able to fact check me on this, but I did see a stat one time that you are most like the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So I think it really is based on what you all said. You surround yourself with good people who want to communicate and grow, you are going to grow. So I think that's important. And speaking of teams, we're going to move right into the next topic. So I really want to talk about building the right team. So Jordan, I'm going to stick with you first. How did you know when it was time to start growing your team? What goes into choosing people that you're going to hire, and what roles they're going to play?
Yeah, I think This is probably a struggle for anyone who has a small business. So I started with just me and a business partner 6 years ago. There's 2 of us, and now we have 18 on the team, which is amazing in just 6 years. I think the number one thing is timing. So if you're gonna hire someone, you have to do it at the right time. I think for me, for transaction coordinator wise, the best time is in what we quote unquote call slow season. I don't really ever feel that it's that slow in Chicagoland, but we hire in October, we train in November and December. So when the peak season comes, when January 1st hits and everyone's back and ready to go, that those transaction coordinators are ready to rock and roll to help these agents. I do think I haven't always had it right, and if I had a suggestion to anyone, even if it's obviously transaction coordination is different than an agent team, but I think hiring more than you need is actually better, because this is gonna sound horrible, but not everyone is gonna pan out. Not everyone is cut out for this space, and that's okay. So I think I always hire a couple more than I know I need, because I know that real estate, we're fortunate to be in it, and I think everyone here, it is a passion that I'm obviously very passionate about, but not everyone is cut out for this grind in this life. And so if you're gonna hire a couple more than you think you might need, and I know it's probably different as an agent, but either they're gonna make it or not. And so I think transaction coordinator wise, and then obviously business wise, I kind of what Shay was saying, I delegate things I'm not good at. I've learned everything in my business, and now I'm okay, I don't really like the accounting, I don't like a couple of these things, so now I delegate it. And so I hire people that are gonna take things off my plate that I'm not passionate about. I'm so passionate about being in the trenches with my team and doing transaction myself. I have clients, I actually just closed a deal with Shay a couple weeks ago, I was on the other side. But I think I found my strong suit, and I stick with that, and then I delegate the other things I'm not as good at and hire people for that.
I would say also figure out where your weaknesses are.
Yeah.
When I hire, sort of 2 things. One, I realized I don't do well with having one full-time assistant. I think that's really hard, because a lot of times they're not good at all the different things that you need them to be good at. And in our industry, a lot of times they then want to get their license and become a realtor. And so when I had full-time assistants, my turnover was really high. Now I have 4 part-time assistants, and I hire mainly stay-at-home moms. I think they're fantastic, because moms have to network, multitask like nobody else's business.
Can I chime in on this? I feel if you need the job done, give
Yes,
it to a mom.
totally.
This is my favorite
Yeah.
saying. I'm if you want
Yeah.
anything done in life,
100%.
a mom will do it.
Sorry, men.
Sorry.
So yes.
I chime in. It's fine.
Yes, I
love it.
totally agree with you. So they have been my best hires, and I find, I have one who helps coordinate events, one who does our client concierge, who coordinates inspections and contractor appointments, and one who's the TC. But if you find people who are really specialized in what they do and you hire for that particular skill set, they're good at it. But my TC tried to plan an event one, it was terrible. It was awful, right? That's not her skill set. So I think finding people that have those skill sets, but then also figuring out where you're weak. I am not a huggy person with my clients. When they start to cry, I'm oh shit. What am I gonna do? They're crying. And I am an emotional person, but I don't do well with it on behalf of my clients.
I was at a showing for 2 hours yesterday listening to my client about her divorce.
Yeah, I don't do that. I can't do that. So I hire team members who are really good at that. Lauren on my team, she'll give you hugs. She shows up to walkthroughs with champagne and cupcakes. And I show up and I'm we got to get this done. Come on. We're very different skill sets, right? I went to school for negotiation. I want to step on your throat during the negotiation. That's the fun part to me. So I need somebody else who balances it out, right? Because they're funny and they're kind and, they do the hugs, because that's not going to be me. So I think you have to figure out too, what are you not good at, and be honest with yourself that that is not my skill set. And find, team members who can balance that out
And
for
happy
you.
people do more business, right? So if your teammates are focused on what they're good at, and you give them autonomy and you trust them to do what they're gonna do, they're just happier, and happy people attract more clients.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things about A&N too, is Nina has built a business where there's so many people that have been with her since day one, Maria being one of them. And I think that's important. I mean, my mom's our underwriting manager, and she's been a loan officer, a processor, an underwriter, and now a manager, and she's been with Nina pretty much her whole career. So I think that's really important. And Nina's never the type of person to be like, nope, you can't do that, you're out. She goes, well, what skills do you like? Can we move you somewhere else? What can we do to make you happier? And like you said, Julie, happy people do more business. And I think that's very true.
And if I can just like put a shameless plug out there for the team members that I love, right? And everybody has their go-to, but might as well promote people. So I love attorney Vanessa Fry. I also love Hallbecker and Garber, but Vanessa Fry, who is always looking for new business, I can text her at 2 a.m. and she will answer. Like, we do most of our deals on weekend nights. Like, it's crazy, but that's just how it goes. I love Positive Image for photography. I love a gal named Mary Coffrin for social media. I love Legacy Home Inspections. And obviously I'll start using the inspector that was here today. But certain things, like go-to people, right? Like, in my opinion, there's not a lot of reason to have 5 different real estate attorneys, right? Yes, your client's gonna pick their Uncle Joe, and that's like the kiss of death. But like, to have people that you know and trust and have worked with for years and years, you're avoiding surprises.
So one thing that I love about this industry for people who aren't in it is, they think you get into this and everyone's like, oh, well, you have to be, you don't really do much, you just make a lot of money and you walk around, right? So what I am interested in is we know what a hustle it is, and as you're building a team, I'm super curious, Julie, I'll start with you. What compensation looks like when you're building a team, whether it be a new agent, a tenured agent, and kind of how you determine, is there negotiating, what does that process look like?
So when my team was at its largest size of 11, we had we still do, we still have a very standard contract, which I've had 2 managing brokers review and approve, and I'm happy to email it to anyone. I had to have a very structured pay scale, right? And it was based on your volume. So everybody would start at, and this sounds high, okay, this sounds really, really high. I know when I would go to these and I would sit in meetings, people would say, no, they get 50% or 60% of your split, and that's how they're paid. For my market, first of all, it's harder to get, there's 700 licensed realtors in Hinsdale. And so if you're trying to break in, it's really hard. And it's a lot of upfront spend on their part to promote themselves, to be that person in their school, to be a recognized name, that they're going to be one of 3 people that they're going to call for a listing presentation. So my structure is a little bit wonky, but it works. Everybody starts at 80% of my split. And then based on their volume, it goes up by 5%, maxed out at 87, I think, of my split. So that's just how it works with my team, all based on volume. And I had a very close friend on my team. She had a slow year. I was dropping her split down because I have to make it fair for everyone across the board, and she quit. And I had to, wish her all the best, but you cannot make exceptions when it comes to the pay structure, because if anyone on your team even senses for a second that you have favorites or that there are exceptions out there, your team's gonna implode. So you've gotta get it in writing, have it reviewed, and stand by it.
So we do it a little bit different because we have 2 realtors assigned to every client. So if I bring in the lead, or the lead comes from, kind of my past sphere, et cetera, I work with every single client in Chicago and Denver, and so then there's 1 other realtor assigned. So we split it 50-50 if I bring the lead in. If the other realtor brings the lead in, then they get 60% and I get 40% off of my split. So I feel like it's important to reward people for bringing in their own business. So I don't have a realtor on my team who typically makes less than $400,000 to $500,000 a year. That's kind of the minimum everybody makes. And then it goes up from there. So obviously they do well. Can I be in your team? But we run really, really lean. Like, most of the teams that I coach around the country, they're not making a lot of money if you look at their P&L statements. My business philosophy, and this is what we stick to, is that expenses should be less than 20% of our gross. For my team, we try to be in the 18% range. So the vast majority of what we're bringing in goes to net in everybody's pockets. We are very, very lean with how we run. Most of our money is spent on our gifts for clients and on our social media, and then on our events. We do not buy leads. We've never bought leads. We'll never buy leads. That's just not a thing that we do. So we really put our money back into our clients so that we can run lean. And about 95% of our business comes from our sphere. So we have a very high repeat and referral business, which also helps bring down our costs.
And I think that we could probably agree buying leads in 15 years has never worked.
Agreed.
It's
Yeah.
a total waste of money.
Yeah.
Like, just don't even take the call, in my opinion.
Agreed.
No, I guess the only thing I have to say, obviously, I don't have the same concept of compensation, but I will speak to if you're a vendor in some capacity and you are changing your price. I learned this the hard way a couple of years ago. An email's not going to cut it. Call the agents and tell them first. I think I learned that the hard way. So if you're changing pricing, as an attorney, an inspector, whatever, the mold man, whatever you are, Mike the mold man, but whatever company you run, a nice phone call to give a heads up on anything changing goes a long way with a real estate agent. So that's my only 2 cents on one of the things.
I do have a question for all three of you. If you do any sort of annual or semi-annual reviews with people on your team to help them grow, what does that look like? Is there opportunity for growth? And is that kind of set up when they get hired to know what those expectations are?
Yeah, we do. So my admins have a review every year. They get a raise every single year. My feeling is if people don't have the opportunity to grow, they're going to leave. So, I don't have a team member at this point who has been with me less than 7 years. Before I switched to part-time admins, my admins were changing every 6-9 months. It was a nightmare. And now they do not leave, and they make a lot of money because they have a path to grow, right? And then with the agents on my team, the other realtors, same thing. We'll sit down every year and talk about what do they want their business to look like. Do they want more listings this year? Do they want more buyers because they get to do both? What do they want to focus on? David, this year we're focusing on probate. That's the clientele he really likes, so that's what we've been focusing on. Lauren is younger. She just had her first baby. All of her friends are getting married, so we've really focused on how do we tap more into that. She wants to focus more on social media. Great, let's do that, right? So they help figure out what do they want their path to look like, and then it's my job to mentor them to get there. Otherwise, they're not going to stay. So I think, as the team lead, that is your job, is to support them and help them figure out their dreams and goals, and then find out what else is important to them besides work, right? Like Lauren wanted to go to Greece for 5 weeks last year. Cool. Take off and go to Greece. I'll cover everything while you're gone. That's why there's 2 of us, right? It's important to her that she travel. It was important to her that she has 2 to 3 months off for maternity leave now. I think that's great. I didn't have maternity leave. I want her to have it. So we will, as a team, support her so she can have that. So to me, it's about the monetary compensation, but it's also on my team about the lifestyle. And we really focus on that. What kind of life do you want, and how can we help you achieve that? And what are the strategies to get there?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna my whole team is female. We're female owned and ran. So I also think I didn't take maternity leaves. I actually had secret pregnancies. I didn't even tell my agents I was pregnant. I was like, oh, I had a baby yesterday. They were like, what? And so that's a true story. I was in the hospital posting listings for Jordan Pringle, and he texted me. He's like, did you just have a baby? I was like, yes, 40 minutes ago. I did. So I think the most important thing to keep a high retention, and we have a high retention as well, other than monetary and making a lot of money, is that we have a support system. There's so many of us. If someone does want to go on a trip, has a baby, that someone can fill in for them. I do think work-life balance is crucial in this industry, and people that I've done this before, in the beginning when I was grinding to grow the company, I was like, oh, I'm never going to take time off. I was in Disney last week, so that changed, Not that I'm a Disney person, but I have young kids, so. But I think work-life balance, and if you have hours, you need to stick to them. So we have set hours, and I know real estate is different. Everyone's like, hey, listen, there are no set hours. I do think clients kind of appreciate it. We're hey, you're here for me tomorrow. I'm at dinner or whatever it may be. I think people that are too willing to drop everything, sometimes it kind of backfires a little bit and seems then you're always available instead of being available. I do think boundaries are important, especially as a transaction coordinator. Nothing is happening, at certain hours. Like, it can wait till the morning, I guess is what I'm trying to say sometimes. So, and I know agents have a different perspective, and I respect that so much. But I think for transaction management side and like attorney side, lender side, whatever it may be, like some boundaries are okay. And I think that clients, in my opinion, if I was a buyer or seller and I just bought a home, I kind of appreciate that my agent had boundaries. I was like, hey, listen, like, you know, we'll chat about this in the morning. I think that's great. I think that's like how people become successful, and probably how I'm guessing you have boundaries. Your employees are going on trips, so I think that's very important to keep people, and to also like, this is a really hard business to be in. So if you're new, like, you have to find a balance. That's going to be like, you shouldn't have to not take a trip or not go to a wedding or do whatever it is because you have to be glued in front of your computer. Like, that's just not. It's not going to happen. It's not sustainable. So hopefully they can. I bet you can talk about.
Yeah, and I agree 100% with what these ladies said. Burnout is a real thing, and I feel like I'm going through it now. But the other thing to remember as you're building your business, right? It's one thing to say these things when we've been doing this for 15 years. I mean, when I was, and I still, I'm not listening to my own advice, but I don't go to a kid's baseball game without my laptop.
Oh, yeah. Same.
Like, I really don't, because the second I don't have access to something, you know, it's like go on vacation if you want a deal, right?
Yeah.
It's whenever you're spread the most thin that's when the business is going to come up. And just like for newer agents, you got to be hungry, right? You got to answer every phone call, and you've got to take every deal. And so that's while work-life balance is 100% important. Otherwise, you know, your health and your family and burnout and all of that. But it also is true that when you're building, this needs to be your life, you know, for a certain number of years. And then once you have enough income and experience, then I think is when the systems, you know, not that I'm saying you don't need systems right out of the gate, you absolutely do. But don't kid yourself. This job is very, very hard, and it requires 24/7 in some aspects.
I have one thing to chime in. I also think if you're like, just in life in general, like, find a supportive partner, because it's a very hard industry. As like a mom who, like, you know, my husband is a saint, and I think that if you're going to be in this industry, and not to give you like love advice, but find a supportive partner that's going to like let you achieve your goals, because this is like dinner, leaving to like answer a phone call or whatever it may be. Like, find someone that's like, I know your husband's here, like, what a hype man, you know, like, find someone who is going to support you. So.
Yeah, 100%. My poor husband has been driving me around the last couple of days while I work in the car on the laptop as he drives. So yes, I agree with that completely. Yeah.
I think that's really important too, because I got into this industry when I was 24. Nina took me in, and I was working in professional sports before that. I literally thought you bought a house with a credit card. I had no idea what I was doing. But I will say the first 3 to 4 years are a hustle, they're a grind, but nobody can make you want it. So even if you're on a team, you have to want it for yourself, and then you start to give yourself those rewards and that luxury of kind of starting to build out your schedule. But yeah, it's a grind. Crazy out there. But good shift. I want to talk about our last topic, and that's culture and motivation. I will say I would not be doing mortgages if I didn't work for A&N, specifically because of the culture there. We are a tight-knit family, literally and figuratively, but she just creates so much fun and help, and it's a community, and I legitimately wouldn't be doing mortgages unless I'm with A&N. So this is probably going to be our longest topic, because I think it's really important, especially because burnout does exist. I feel like social media has this tendency to make you feel like you're never doing enough and you're not good and there's always someone better than you. But in reality, like, this is a hard job. So Jordan, in this fast-paced environment, especially right now, like Julia said, you're kind of experiencing burnout when it's so crazy, you feel like you can't keep your head on straight, and with so many transactions happening at once, how do you coach your team and motivate them to stay happy, but also to stay with that grind?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think like one comparison is like the thief of joy. So like, find what works for you, and like, don't compare yourself to anyone else.
Don't look at other people's
I know,
volume.
it's just like,
You'll cry
and like,
every day.
it's so funny, like, cause I see it from behind the scenes, like, what you think might be the perfect team, like, behind whatever under the hood is not the perfect team. So like, just remember that like, you are your own, and you're gonna make it on your, like, the grind is there, but Okay, for motivation, I think like we can all attest to this. Like I am in the trenches with the team still. I think leading by example is one way to really, really motivate a team. So I like understand their frustrations because I'm doing the same exact thing as they are. So we're really able to like bounce ideas up each other, help each other when needed. I think when you have a big team, like 18, like I do, the best thing for me is to motivate from the top and it trickles down. So when I'm not saying this is a good thing, but if it's a peak season right now, if we're working at night and they see that I'm on Slack and I'm working and everyone's like, oh, I'm still here, I'm like, same, like I think that's a great way to motivate. I also think who you surround yourself with. So like I like to do transactions. Obviously I don't always get to pick, but agents, lenders like A&M Mortgage who are really like clapping for you. We have a brag channel on Slack that's like, all these nice things that people say. And that really keeps us motivated too, because it is such a cutthroat industry. So like that little thank you is a great way to keep motivated. And then the last thing I'm gonna say is that the other side of the deal, a lot of our agents come from the other side of a transaction. They're like, oh my God, I love this. We want to like work with you guys. And I think that's a great motivator for the people on my team when they are getting the gist of it, like they're getting that. They're like, okay, this agent wants to start with us now because of the work I did. Like how, and like that's so great. So I think there's nothing better than that. I think that's amazing. I think attorneys and lenders who are cheering us on as well, and agents, I know they're really busy, so they're not as complimentary, but any agent who is, I also think keeps us motivated. So, but I will say, if you are hiring, like there is one thing you can't teach, and that is work ethic. So like when you're hiring people, make sure you're hiring someone with a really, really good drive, because you cannot teach that.
You can motivate people.
Yeah, it's hard to motivate.
Drive, but like
You gotta have a good, you gotta have a good work ethic. So.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think back on like what motivation tools worked with my team. Like does buying them jewelry once a year, does taking them on a trip. That doesn't really work either. It really is just who they are.
100%.
And surrounding. You guys all know what a go-getter or a self-starter looks and feels like. Those are the only people that make it in this business. That's my thought. You gotta have the right team with you.
I agree to an extent. However, I also feel like people need to be appreciated. And so figuring out your team members' love languages and leaning into that, I think is really important. I agree, you can't motivate people. They need to be hard workers. However, you also need to understand what really gets them going. So like we joined at a year and a half ago or whatever, so we won the Timeless Award with the Rolex this year. I don't care. Like I have no interest in that whatsoever, but I knew Lauren on my team would really like a Rolex watch. Like that would motivate her, and David on my team really likes the ego stroke, right? So gave to both of them. David was able to go, be at the ceremony, etc. We were just, was it last week, the week before, the car award ceremony, walk across the stage, get your big award. I'd rather be home watching a movie. Like I literally have no interest. But for David, that's huge. He likes that ego stroke, right? So he went for our team to represent us, to walk across the stage, get the picture, rah, rah. I'm super excited for him because he likes that, right? So Rhonda on my team, she likes words of affirmation, so I'm sending her notes to thank her, things like that. Lauren really likes gifts, so I'm sending her flowers and baby gifts and things like that. So I agree you can't motivate people, but I think people want to be seen and they want to feel like they're appreciated, and you have to figure out what their individual love language is and lean into that. I think that's part of why I don't have team members leave. They make a lot of money, they're appreciated, they have good work-life balance. You've got to cover all those aspects, in my opinion.
I'm really interested. This isn't on the script, but just from hearing you guys talk from a hierarchy perspective, one of my favorite things about A&N is we all sit in a room together, no matter if you've been doing it 26 years or you're in your first year, and we all are kind of at an equal playing field and help collaborate. I mean, Dean comes to Savannah and I and is like, what Instagram should I post this week? And then, I'm asking Mike Del Preto, have you seen this with a self-employed borrower? And I think that's really important. So I'm curious for you guys, how do you take someone who's maybe been with you for a longer amount of time versus shorter and make sure that everyone is feeling included?
I'll start. I think I totally agree with this. I think my email signature, people comment that all the time, is not owner or CEO, it's like head of details, because I don't want to be known as that. Like I want to be part of the team, in the trenches with them, fighting the good fight every day in real estate. So I think like inclusion is so important, and even the person that's been on my team for 6 years, the person that's been on my team for 2 weeks, I do think everyone is treated the same. So I think it's hard to, there are hard parts, definitely, but I think having a mentor has really helped as well. So everyone on the team kind of has a buddy that they can go and bounce questions off of. So if like when you get to the size that like 18 or however many we have, like having someone that they can bounce ideas off of, go to if there's a problem, ask questions for. We're kind of brokerage based, so a lot of the TCs will have agents that are in and then they're in Compass or they're in Fulton Grace or wherever they are. And so there'll be like 3 TCs that are working that brokerage. So then they're kind of like a group that they can be like, okay, I'm having this issue with that property's platform, whatever it is, and they can really help each other. So I think more than anything, I try to include them with the people on the team that they're going to jive with the best, and then target that group as, you know, the 3 of them or the 2 of them or the 4 of them or whatever it may be, to motivate them that way. So everyone kind of feels inclusive, but we also have little snippets of different groups as well, which seems to help.
I mean, I would say it starts off by, so my parents owned a lot of businesses when I was a kid, and they taught me from a young age. I started working in my mom's cookie store when I was 3 because we couldn't afford childcare. My parents were divorced. And so I went in every day at 3 and helped run the cash register and mix the cookie dough. Like I literally grew up in a cookie store. And I remember my mom told me, be slow to hire and quick to fire. Mm-hmm. And so I had to fire my first employee at 13. My mom was out of town at a training, and I caught our manager stealing cash. And no, maybe I was 14. Anyway, close.
I would love to hear that story.
Yeah. So I fired her and I told her to get out because, you know, that was cash out of our pocket. Like if we did not have cash in the cash register, we did not eat. Like we were poor. I grew up in Alaska, poor, right? And so, you know, my mom was out of town for the next week, so I ran the cookie store at 14 or whatever for the next week until my mom came back. And so that lesson always stuck with me, that you take a lot of time to hire so that you make sure that you hire the right one. But if they are not working out, you get rid of them fast because it is a poison that affects the entire team. Once you hire them, to me, you know, I'm the team lead. Nobody outside of the team probably really even knows that. To our clients, we are all business partners. Mm-hmm. We are treated equally. And sometimes they think David's in charge or Lauren's in charge, and I am fine with that. I think it's also really important that you listen to your team members. Everybody on our team has an equal seat at the table, whether you're an admin or a team member. Your ideas are valid, and we do not micromanage. I do not have time to micromanage you. If I have to micromanage you, I'm going to fire you. Mm-hmm. That's what I hired you for. I'm not going to do your job and my job. I'm going to do my job. You're going to do your job. But I allow people to do their job whenever they want. My admins have no set hours, no set days they work. If they want to do their work from 2 to 4 in the morning, as long as they get their work done, cool. I don't care when they do it, right? Mm-hmm. So I think you have to figure out what kind of employees do you need, hire them, and then you have to trust them to do their job. And when they come to you and they say something, you need to listen because you hired them for their opinion, and so you need to take that seriously. And then as a group, you make decisions together. So I don't make any decisions unilaterally for the team. Like when we decided to switch brokerages, the whole team, including the admins, went and we interviewed Compass, we interviewed we interviewed the brokerages. It wasn't them interviewing us, and everybody on the team got a vote in terms of where we were going to go. So I think that's a team culture that you have to set up from the beginning so everybody feels valued.
Do you ever say to let me ask my boss, like someone asks a question or there's an issue, I'm like, I don't know, let me check really quick with my boss.
I'm going to start saying
I
that.
know, it's like, yeah, I'm like, good.
Amazing. This is going to be our last question before we go into a few Q&A from the audience. Shifting gears just a little bit, but still on culture. It's a crazy market out there right now, especially for buyers. We're seeing a lot of buyers and seeing a lot of multiple offer situations, more cash offers than I think I've ever seen in the 6 years I've been doing this. So it can get a little bit discouraging to buyers and for sellers for that matter. So I'm curious how you, because you see them in person, how you keep them motivated, happy, encouraged, still wanting to go through this process or remembering why they're doing it?
I think part of this market is to prepare and educate your buyers and to level set and their expectations, right? I use InfoSparks. How many people here use InfoSparks for data and the MLS? I love it. prepare them by saying, okay, if we're gonna be going out, this is the very first time out touring, I've got all the graphs and charts to prepare them. Basically, they need to know if their sweet spot for a purchase is 1.2, let's say. First of all, we shouldn't be looking at things up to 1.5, which is part of the learning. But then in that 1.5 price point, or excuse me, 1.2 price point, let's pull data for things that have closed the last 3 months between 1.1 and 1.3. How does this particular segment of the market or this micro market behave? What's the month supply? What's the average sales to list price ratio? How many things are trading pre-market? I remember I had asked Nina early on in Q1, this time last year, how many of your deals closed in 30 days, 45, and 60? And she said a vast majority this time last year closed in under 30 days. So it just prepares them to get their ducks in a row. Do you have your pre-approval ready? Just knowing, so when they do find that house, they're ready to pounce. And we're not wasting anyone's time or getting anyone overly upset because they're not prepared, right? Talk to them about all of the tools in the toolbox that you have when you're in a multiple bid situation. They need to know all of those different things and they need to decide. I mean, I think cash mortgage allowed is one of like the greatest options on a contract, right? Nobody's gonna beat a cash offer, all things considered, if the prices are relatively the same. So all those little tools and preparation and education, first of all, I think it's gonna make their offer stronger and their price higher. But they also know that we've done everything that we can in terms of what we're submitting to make our offer as strong as possible. And if they're choosing to leave one of those tools out and we don't get it, then there's not some huge conversation about why we lost. No one's winning or losing. You're either the guy that wants the house the most or you're the guy that wants it second most.
Yeah, I mean, I would just add to that, in that initial conversation, we're being very upfront with buyers that you need to go 100 to 400,000 over asking price. Like if you want me to put an offer in at 80,000 over, it's not going to fly. Whether that's a 1-bedroom in the city at 300,000, we're not going to get it. So those are the numbers that we need to be at. So let's set expectations about, if your search criteria is up to 1.2, we need to be looking at probably a max of $1 million so that we have a chance to win. So that is the initial buyer consultation conversation with them so that we can set those expectations up front. And we will show them, we lost an offer over the weekend. We went 281,000 over and we lost, right? And so we'll share that information with them so that they understand we're telling them the truth. And then we'll talk to them on that initial phone call about you need to be willing to waive appraisal. If you're not paying cash, you need to be willing to waive mortgage contingency. These are all the levers you need to pull. So let's spend the next week or two working you through those so you understand what those mean. Let's have you talk with the lender so you understand what it means to waive appraisal contingency, what it means to waive mortgage contingency. So by the time it comes to put an offer in, you're ready. We also set up a call where I go over every client on Zoom, the contract, and I explain it to them line by line so they understand. So when the time comes in, they're ready to jump. So I think doing all of that upfront preparation, having them meet with the lender and run current numbers, because interest rates have gone up so much in the last month because of the war in Iran. So we are at this point now, before we will put an offer in, we are having the client run numbers with their lender that day to make sure they're comfortable so that we don't get in a situation where they back out, right? So being very proactive with your clients so they feel like they have all the information, because then again, if they lose, that's on them. We've told them everything that they needed to do to win. And I feel like in this market, clients need to lose one a lot of times before they trust us, that like, I told you needed to go 300,000 for this one. You only went 200,000. You lost. Next time you need to listen to me, right? And they need to feel that pain before they realize that like, I'm telling them the truth. I'm not just making shit up, right? What they need to do to actually win.
Anything, Jordan? No? It's the same thing. Like Shay said, rates have gone up over the last few weeks, and it's kind of setting those expectations, like you said, because there are clients that will shop 15 different lenders, and by that point they get done and rates are a quarter higher, and there's nothing we can do about that. So Nina likes to say we don't sell rates, we sell payments, and that's the most important. So being, as a lender, making you guys look good and make sure that we're setting those expectations on the amount of funds they're going to need, their monthly payments is super important. So they know exactly what they're getting themselves into when they submit those offers. So I think that's really important. Anything else on that regarding buyers or sellers? Amazing. Well, we have time for probably 1 or 2 questions from the audience, but first let's give them a round of applause. It was so wonderful. Yeah, you guys are all the blondies. So does anyone have a question? Go ahead.
So my question is for the 2 realtors. If you have a team lead, do you guys think that is it best for a realtor to have a coach?
Oh, like a hired coach?
Yeah, like a hired coach.
I know people that have done it that have had great. I know people that have done it that have had great experience. I personally kind of grew up at Coldwell Banker, where it was like go into the office every single day, Monday through Friday, you know, and even on the weekends, and just learn by osmosis. That was kind of like, those were my mentors, or all the gals sitting, you know, in Coldwell Banker at the monitors. So I didn't kind of grow up in this industry with a paid coach. I almost think for your start out budget, right, when you're not having a lot of closings in those early years, I would say for me personally, I would put that coach money into your marketing and your social media and doing things, you know, to get your name out, whether that's pop buys or whatever. I would, in lieu of that, I would just get to the office and befriend some agents, offer to cover some open houses, and then maybe in exchange you could say, hey, can I buy you lunch and you take me through InfoSparks on the MLS? I think agents, at least I do, I love to teach and I love to collaborate, and I'm always happy to return the favor that, you know, all those agents that taught me every single thing. I also think just kind of being in the room is a great learning experience, listening to agents negotiate, listening to them, how they problem solve, their tone of voice, you know, different buzzwords or expressions that they use. I just think you pick up and learn so much, maybe without necessarily needing to pay for it. I don't know if you guys have a better. I know the question wasn't.
Every penny, for at least me. I know. I'm not an agent, the question wasn't for me, but I love a coach. I think it's both answers, right? Yeah. When I was younger, I thought I don't need a coach for anything. I can figure out how to do everything, and if I have a coach, I'm weak, and I should be able to do it on my own. And I realized I was an idiot, and that it's important to hire people who have skill sets you don't have and who know more than you do. When I got a divorce a couple of years ago, I hired a dating coach. It's why I met my second husband, because I had a great dating coach, and I found a wonderful husband because of it, right? I think that when you're a new agent, there's so much free training that you should take advantage of. But I think at some point your business reaches a level where that free training doesn't work anymore and it's not applicable to your business anymore. And you have specialized problems you need to solve. And that's where it's important to hire a coach who specializes in that item, helps you fix that item, and then you go find the next coach for the next thing. So I think it's a combination of both. But once you reach a level where you can afford to do that, because I would say before then you need to be pouring that money back into pop buys and gifts and social media and events and things like that. But I do think having a coach eventually is really important in every aspect of life.
All right, I think we've got time for one more. Andy, should I count you? Okay.
Ladies, first off, great panel. Thank you so much. You talked a lot about work ethic, motivation, those kinds of things. Any interview techniques, any strategies to find those people who are really motivated, and what are your tips and tricks to really dig into motivation? Because everyone's going to say they are, but how do you really find it?
So when I'm hiring an admin, they hate this. When I have them come in and I meet with them, I give them a grammar test. So I give them a written test paragraph with grammar mistakes, punctuation mistakes, spelling mistakes, etc. First of all, if they're late, they're out. If they're a minute late, they're out. Interview's done, go home. Because I need people to be on time for things like that. That's important. If they fail the grammar test, you're out. I'm sorry. Like, you are going to be the person that is writing emails and things to my clients. That needs to be perfect, or that reflects on me. So that just doesn't work for me either. And then kind of once they get past my initial interviews, then the rest of the team interviews them and sees if they're going to be a good fit. So that's kind of been my tricks and tips, at least for admins. For other realtors, honestly, I find realtors I like working with on the other side of the deal. That's how I found Lauren, and then I called her and I was like, hey, are you happy where you are? You know, if you're not, you know, let's chat, because I feel like it's unusual that I really think that the realtor on the other side of the transaction does a great job. And so if they do, I will reach out to them. That's how I find other realtors.
I think I find mine from word of mouth, like someone knew them and could vouch for their work ethic. So I think every single person on my team has come from someone that I knew in the industry. So I think that's a good way to do it too.
One more.
Yes. Go ahead.
At first, thank you so much for sharing your great experience with us. We really appreciate it. I think I'm not the only one who has a lot of appreciation. I just would like to ask you what kind of method you guys use for signing of the buyer's exclusive agreement. Thank you.
Oh, what method?
I picked up on, so the question was, what method do you use to get the buyers to sign the buyer's agreement? And I heard one thing that worked for me. It's gotta like roll off the tongue, and it has to feel authentic and appropriate for you to be able to, you know, sell it. And I read this early on when all of that stuff was going on, and it basically said, the buyer's agreement is basically the listing agreement for a seller, but it's the buyer's agreement to work with me. So the listing agents have a contract, the buyer's agents have a contract. This is my contract, and it's standard now.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, the only other thing I would add to that is I tell them when they sign it, they can fire me at any point if they're not happy working with me. Just send me an email and you can fire me. You know, and I explain I've never had anybody do that, but if you want to, you absolutely can, and I'll let you out of it. I think buyers get nervous that they're going to be locked into this contract for a long time. And so sometimes they'll ask me how long it's for, and I say, well, usually it's a year, but we can change it to be something different if you want. And so I had one a couple months ago who was like, well, I only want to do it for a week. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do it for a week. At the end of the week, let's see how you like working with me. If you like it, we'll renew it. And at the end of the week, they were like, okay, we're fine doing it for 6 months or 3 months or whatever. So that's fine, you know. So I think you have to just make people feel like they're in control and find out what their objection is to it if they have an objection, and then figure out a way around that objection.
And I 100% agree. And I also think just be chill about it.
Yeah.
Like, are you gonna sue someone to work with you?
Right.
Never, right? So just be relaxed and be confident in yourself that as long as you do your job and you're enjoyable and you bring value, you add value to it, they're gonna use you. So don't overthink it.
Amazing. Well, let's give another round of applause. All three of you were amazing. I learned a lot, and I'm sure everyone else in the audience did, so thank you so much for being here. Before we wrap up, just a couple of things. We have our next Power Hour that will be in the form of a happy hour on Thursday, May 7th at our SheShed location in Chicago, so look out for that. And then we have our real estate mastermind in Schaumburg on Wednesday, May 13th, so look out for that. And then we will be doing our second annual A&N golf tournament in August. So the first one was, in my humble opinion, a really big success. So if you are interested in golfing in it, if you are interested in sponsoring it, we are kind of getting that rolling. So reach out to any of the loan officers here, Nina, Dean, whoever it may be. But thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next month.